It happens to, I think, everyone who's ever tried to put on a really great event.
Oh, for sure.
You start with this brilliant, clear vision, a sold-out stadium fight, a flawless Faction Week presentation, maybe a multi-day music festival.
Right. The big picture.
And then slowly, the chaos just creeps in, and suddenly you feel like you're drowning in vendor bids, you're struggling with permitting deadlines, and you're trying to manage a staff who have never even worked together before.
And that right there, that operational chaos, is why most firms just can't scale.
They can't?
They treat event planning like it's some kind of, I don't know, improvisational art. They're just relying on last-minute heroics and pure stamina to get through.
Right, pulling all-nighters.
Exactly. But you cannot build a profitable, repeatable business on guesswork. You just can't. You need a machine.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to take a deep dive into the organizational structure that can transform that chaos into clockwork. We are dissecting the Event Planning Operating System Blueprint, presented by the services of KING-KAMBUF PS. And we're really looking at this firm not as just event planners, but as a production studio, treating every single event like a standardized project that follows a precise, repeatable manufacturing process.
That is the critical mindset shift. That's everything. We're going to be extracting the most critical knowledge nuggets from this 10-phase blueprint, plus all the essential staffing models and best practices to really give you, the listener, the roadmap to move your operations from a messy concept to a profitable closeout, and to do it efficiently.
So it's about systems over spontaneity.
It is all about systems over spontaneity.
Okay, let's unpack this. This blueprint is, it's structured, it's deliberate, it's very detailed. It runs through 10 distinct phases, starting with the absolute first step, preparing your tools.
Yeah.
This is where we build the foundation of repeatability.
We begin with what we're calling phase 0, foundation, build once, reuse forever. And this is the ultimate preventative measure against project burnout. The premise is really simple. Why would you draft a new contract or a new email or, a new schedule format every single time you win a new client?
It's the power of templates, right?
Yeah.
In the heat of a new project, every minute you spend formatting a document is a minute you're not spending on execution or actually solving problems.
100%.
But what specific assets are we talking about here? What are the non-negotiables? What foundational documents have to be built once and then, guarded like gold?
Okay, so the blueprint highlights several really critical assets. First, the 2-page master event brief.
Just 2 pages.
Just 2 pages. And this isn't some long-winded proposal. It's the event's DNA, condensed. It locks in the core purpose, the defined audience demographics, specific success metrics, your KPIs, the approved budget range, and the date window. And here's the key. If any of that changes mid-project, you scrap the brief and you start over. It forces accountability.
Only 2 pages. That enforces discipline. If you can't define the 5 most important things about your event on 2 pages, you probably haven't thought hard enough about it.
That's exactly it. Next up is the run-of-show ROS template.
The ROS.
Standardization here is it's key. Stage managers, look, it doesn't matter what kind of event it is, a 3-hour fashion show or an 8-hour fight card. They need to see the timing, the cue triggers, and personnel ownership in the exact same columns every single time.
So it's about muscle memory.
It completely eliminates the cognitive load of learning a new document layout for every single project.
And then crucially, on the financial side, we need standardization in procurement. The blueprint mentions the vendor bid template and the necessity of a comparison sheet. I assume this template standardizes the information you actually request from vendors, right?
Right.
So it forces them to quote apples to apples rather than just waiting for whatever format they decide to send you.
That's precisely right. You send them the template and you demand itemized costs for labor, for equipment, required insurance, and set up and tear down hours.
So you're preempting a disaster.
You're preempting the most common disaster where a vendor's low bid hides these massive fees because they only included, say, 4 hours of labor when you actually needed 12.
Right.
The comparison sheet then becomes this objective, quantifiable tool for selection. You're moving way beyond just gut feeling or, personal relationships.
I'm also seeing the human resources assets listed here. The staffing plan plus detailed role cards. Now, this sounds like a massive step up from just a simple job description.
It is, because a job description tells you what the person is generally supposed to do. A role card tells them how they fit into the machine for this specific event.
Yeah.
It defines required skills, it specifies their radio channel, lists their 2 immediate reporting superiors, and outlines the 3 most critical show day duties. So when you hire a freelancer, you hand them this card, and in 5 minutes, they understand their place in the hierarchy and their core responsibilities.
That's just operational clarity. You're turning staff effort into a modular asset.
Exactly. And it makes the onboarding process exponentially faster, and it reduces mistakes.
And of course, the full suite of comms, templates, sponsor emails, crew call logistics, media briefs. You should never be drafting a legal liability sensitive communication, like a load-in safety email from scratch.
Never. Standardization here serves 2 masters: speed and liability protection.
Okay.
By using templates for everything, from vendor welcome letters to crew safety briefings, you ensure that vital, often legally required information like specific general liability insurance requirements or the payment teleline is never accidentally omitted.
So what's the big takeaway from Phase 0?
The ultimate takeaway is to operationalize your firm as a production studio. Every single event project gets an identical, standardized folder structure. It just makes handoffs and historical review completely seamless.
Okay, so we've built the tools. Now we need to figure out what we're actually building with them. And that takes us to Phase 1, strategy and concept, the why, that drives everything. This feels like the strategic phase that puts the entire project on rails.
This is where you lock the non-negotiables before you commit any real financial capital.
Right.
Amateur planners, they often get seduced by a beautiful concept, and they'll spend thousands on venue deposits before they can even articulate the event's actual purpose. You have to lock your deliverables first.
The core concept here is something called the event thesis. He said it's not a mission statement, it's a single, powerful paragraph. Let's revisit that structure. This event exists by delivering word.
The blueprint really emphasizes this because this kind of clarity prevents what we call mission creep. Let's take a specific example, like an entertainment concert. If the thesis is, this event exists to maximize profit for the promoter, for the primary ticket buying audience, by delivering a high-volume general admission concert, well, every single decision you make from then on will favor volume, maximizing ticket sales, and efficient, rapid throughput.
Got it.
But what if the thesis is, this event exists to launch a new album for 20 select music critics and industry influencers by delivering an exclusive, immersive, high-fidelity listening experience?
A completely different event.
Completely different. Every decision now favors exclusivity, expensive sound systems, and a strict guest list. Profit is secondary to influence.
I see. So if the budget committee sees that second thesis, they know immediately that the success metric is media coverage and influence, not ticket revenue.
Yeah.
And that dictates all your spending priorities.
Exactly. If the purpose is messy, the planning will be messy.
So where do firms usually fail with this?
Well, they often fail because they're trying to satisfy 2 competing theses at the same time. Like, they want to maximize profits and launch a product to VIPs, but they do it without separating the deliverables. The thesis acts as the ultimate filter for every single choice you make after that.
And that clarity then helps you define the 4 core formats because the operational demands change radically depending on what you're doing.
Oh, massively. A sports tournament with its bracket logistics, medical requirements, timing precision, it's a completely different logistical beast than, say, a fluid fashion pop-up or a multi-day entertainment festival with complex stage turn requirements.
The format really informs your staffing and vendor needs right out of the gate.
Immediately. A fashion one-way, for example, requires specific lighting and really tight-timed backstage flow management. A fight tournament needs an entirely different medical staff, compliance with athletic commissions, a complex weigh-in, and media schedule.
So you have to define the format early.
The blueprint demands it. You have to do it early to avoid trying to retrofit compliance requirements later on. It's just a nightmare.
And Phase 1 wraps up with the revenue model reality. The source lists all these diverse streams: tickets, sponsorships, concession splits, merch, broadcasting rights, grants, VIP tables. How does a planner use this list to link revenue directly to their financial risk tolerance?
You have to map your anticipated revenue streams against your committed expenses. It's a simple exercise.
Okay.
Let's say your event, a small festival, relies 80% on corporate sponsorships that haven't been signed yet.
That sounds risky.
Your financial risk tolerance is near 0. But if you have a major venue buyout where 70% of the cost is covered by a guaranteed grant or broadcasting rights, well, your tolerance is much higher.
So what's the question you should be asking yourself?
The exercise here is determining. If my least reliable revenue stream fails entirely, can the baseline budget still be met? If the answer is no, the concept is too ambitious for the current financial backing you have.
So you're connecting the abstract why of the thesis to the cold, hard how of the financing.
Exactly. Phase Neuro gave us the standardized machine components, but Phase 1 provides the specific manufacturing goal, the defined purpose, the format, and clear KPIs.
And that strategic definition just feeds right into Phase 2.
Immediately. If your KPI is increased profitability, your budget has to heavily prioritize high-margin revenue streams like VIP experiences or high-split concession deals.
Right.
But if your KPI is maximize audience size, you might accept a lower per-ticket profit margin to boost volume, but then you have to budget for the operational strain that a higher volume creates.
Okay, moving into the verification stage, we hit Phase 2. Feasibility and budget, don't guess verify. This feels like where ambition meets, well, municipal code and financial reality. It's the critical pivot point where you either commit or you gracefully pull back.
It is. This phase acts as a quick, brutal audit designed to prevent fatal flaws before you make any deep financial commitment.
The feasibility checklist.
The feasibility checklist demands fast, honest answers. You need to check venue availability and cost. Is the location even viable? Do the necessary permits even exist for your concept in that city? What are the insurance minimums? And critically, what are the load-in and load-out restrictions?
That's a big one.
A huge one. Can your massive stage set actually be built and torn down during the available time window?
I want to focus on the human factor here, staffing reality. The checklist asks if you can actually crew a large event in that specific location on that date. What happens if you find out all local security firms are already booked for another major event?
That's a feasibility failure. Simple as that. If you cannot secure the baseline required security or medical staff, which are often mandatory minimums set by the city, the event cannot happen, period.
So what are your options?
You either have to shift the date, or you must budget for the immense cost of flying in and housing specialized staff from another region. And if that exceeds your financial risk tolerance from Phase 1, you stop.
It's better to kill a concept on paper.
Always. It's so much better than executing a dangerous, understaffed event.
The blueprint makes a special mention of medical requirements, especially for sports events. This feels like it's often the first thing cut by amateur planners when budgets get tight, but the liability is just enormous.
It's completely non-negotiable for sports. Whether you're running a youth camp or a professional fight night, the blueprint requires verified, immediate, high-level medical care.
And this goes beyond just a basic first aid station.
Oh, way beyond. We're talking about a dedicated EMT or paramedic presence, and for combat sports, a ringside physician who is credentialed to manage potential acute head or spinal injuries.
A failure there isn't just financial.
It's a moral and a legal failure. You must verify those medical services are contracted and locked before any venue deposits are made.
Okay, so once feasibility is confirmed, we move to the financial engine, building the professional budget. The blueprint mandates a 3-column budget: baseline, worst case, and target. I appreciate the rigor, but for a smaller firm bootstrapping an event, isn't it just overwhelming to build 3 full budgets?
It definitely feels like triple the work,
Yeah.
but it's the only way to really manage financial risk. The 3 columns are your dynamic response system.
Okay, break that down for us.
The target column is what you're aiming for. Full sponsorship fulfillment, maximized VIP sales, the dream scenario. The baseline column is your conservative, realistic spending plan. You assume minimum sales, maybe ticket revenues at 70%, and a lower tier of sponsorship.
And the worst case?
The worst case column is your crucial protection layer. It defines exactly where you cut spending the moment your revenue tracking indicates you've fallen below that baseline threshold.
So let's say ticket sales hit the worst case trigger at 4 weeks out. What categories get cut immediately?
Professional firms know this ahead of time. You cannot cut the mandated fixed costs. Your venue deposits, your permits, insurance, and the minimum required security and medical staff, those are locked.
So where did the cuts come from?
The cuts have to come from the variable, non-essential categories. Things like guest experience enhancements, the secondary photo booths, elaborate decor.
The nice-to-haves.
Exactly, the nice-to-haves. Secondary PR events, unnecessary transportation shuttles, or cutting the budget for high-end catering or non-essential entertainment talent. The 3-column budget allows for surgical cuts instead of panic-driven, performance-degrading reductions.
And the universal budget categories are all listed, covering everything. But let's zoom in on the essential safety net, the contingency of 10 to 20%.
Yeah,
Why is this mandatory? Why can't we just trust our detailed budget management?
Because events are run by humans in dynamic, unpredictable environments. The contingency is the budget for the unknown unknowns.
Like what?
Consider two major threats: weather and unplanned labor costs. If a sudden thunderstorm forces you to rent expensive last-minute covering or move equipment indoors, that's a contingency expense.
Right.
If your stagehands or specialized AV techs require unplanned overtime because a delivery was delayed, that also comes out of contingency. If you don't allocate that 10 to 20% upfront, these inevitable surprises come straight out of your profit margin. Or worse, they force you to compromise a core deliverable. It's the cost of managing reality.
The warning in the blueprint is crystal clear. If you don't have signed revenue yet, don't spend like you do. It's all about scaling the show to cash reality.
It is the difference between planning a successful event and planning a spectacular cash flow dry bankruptcy.
It's a cash flow game.
100%. Event expenses are front-loaded deposits, insurance design, often requiring 50% of the fixed cost before a single ticket is even sold. Revenue often arrives much, much later.
So you're constantly checking your bank account against your commitments.
Constantly. Scaling to cash reality means cross-referencing committed expenses against secured signed revenue, not just anticipated sales or promised sponsorships. If your cash on hand can't cover the next 30 days of committed spending, regardless of your projections, you are overextended.
And that structural reality pushes us straight into phase 3. Site, permits, insurance, safety, the compliance backbone. This is the administrative grind, but without it, you literally have no event.
Compliance is the legal scaffolding. The core requirements start with the final venue contract and non-negotiable general liability insurance.
What's the crucial detail there?
The detail is verifying that you have included all the necessary additional insureds: the venue itself, the property owner, the city, and often major partners or sponsors. If you miss one, and an accident occurs on their property, your general liability coverage could be compromised.
Then comes the part everyone dreads, the infamous permit gauntlet. Assembly permits, street closure, noise, temporary structures, fire, alcohol. For a big city-scale event, how does a planner navigate this administrative friction efficiently?
This is often where timelines just completely collapse. A growth team or enterprise structure, they require a dedicated logistics coordinator because each permit is its own little bureaucratic project.
And you can't handle them one by one.
No, you can't handle them sequentially. They have to be managed in parallel. For example, the fire marshal demands a specific site map for egress and safety plans, while the city planning department demands engineering sign-offs for temporary structures, and the police department needs route maps for street closures.
And often, the requirements of these three departments conflict.
They conflict all the time, so the planner has to act as the friction manager, ensuring that the site map approved by the fire marshal is also accepted by the city's public works department for waste management placement.
So what's the biggest cause of delay?
The biggest delay often happens when a planner submits plans to Department A, which gets approval, only for Department B to reject it because it conflicts with some local ordinance Department A didn't even consider. This process can easily take months. This phase is less about execution and more about patience, meticulous documentation, and just constant follow-up with municipal liaisons.
Safety requirements run parallel to permits. We need the three core plans: safety, security, and medical. Can you explain the difference between the safety plan and the security plan? They sound similar.
They do, but they're distinct. The safety plan is focused on structural, environmental, and emergency response. So that's the Comprehensive Emergency Action Plan, or EAP, detailed evacuation routes for all zones, designated muster points, and crucially, a dynamic weather plan that defines specific internal triggers for delaying or sheltering.
Okay, so that's the what if something bad happens plan.
Right. The security plan focuses on human and access control, crowd management techniques, entry screening protocols like bag checks or metal detection, management of restricted areas, and handling disruptive attendees. They overlap, for instance, during an evacuation, but they are managed by distinct officers on show day.
And the medical plan?
That's the dedicated care structure. It defines your EMT and paramedic ratios based on anticipated attendance, the number and location of first aid stations, and the established protocol for rapid transport to local hospitals.
For a big event, that has to be pretty detailed.
For a large event, this includes pre-planning vehicle access points and routes for emergency services, making sure they can bypass any crowd congestion.
This all culminates in what the blueprint calls an essential best practice, the authority pack. Why is this single PDF folder the ultimate operational defense on show day?
Because on show day, time is liability. Imagine a fire marshal arrives 30 minutes before doors open and demands to see the approved permit for your main tent structure.
Nightmare scenario.
It is. If your operations manager has to frantically dig through email archives, you risk a delay or even a shutdown. The Authority Pack, a single verified index PDF with all your COIs, all signed permits, the approved sitemap, and a contact list for every relevant authority. It allows your safety officer to immediately demonstrate compliance, professionalism, and readiness.
So it diffuses the tension.
Instantly. And it builds vital trust with the authorities who are overseeing your event.
Compliance locked. We now shift focus to the actual audience experience in Phase 4. Program design. What happens minute by minute. This is where the concept moves from strategic paperwork into a lived sensory experience. You mentioned designing across 4 simultaneous layers. How does a planner mentally manage that complexity?
Well, you have to accept that a functional event requires all 4 layers to interact seamlessly.
Okay, what are they?
The first layer is the experience journey. This is the attendee's subjective narrative. What's the first thing they see when they arrive? Is the line smooth? Is the lighting welcoming? How do they navigate to concessions? It focuses on comfort, flow, and emotion. Second layer.
The second is program content. This is the star element.
Oh.
The specific bands, the athlete matchups, the keynote speaker lineup. This is the why they bought the ticket.
Got it. Third.
The third is operational flow. This is the mechanics of the event. When are the restrooms clean? When are the bars restocked? Where is talent delivered backstage? This is the staff choreography that the audience shouldn't even notice.
And finally, the fourth.
And the fourth is production cues. This is the technical command. The precise lighting changes, the sound mix shifts, the video wall content schedule, and any stage automation.
Okay, give me a scenario where these 4 layers have to synchronize perfectly.
Think about a sports event halftime show.
Perfect.
The program content is obviously the main performer. The experience journey needs to ensure the audience can get up, buy a beer, and get back to their seats without missing the start of the second half.
Yeah. The operational flow has to see the cleanup crew rapidly address spills and waste, while the security team shifts focus to high-traffic congestion points. And the production cues must coordinate the exact timing of the house lights coming up, and then the return to stage lighting at the precise moment the performer starts.
So if one of those fails,
If the cleanup crew is still visible when the lights drop, the experience journey is ruined by an operational failure.
that detail really shows why the run of show, ROS, has to be more than just a simple schedule. You must clearly articulate what plus who plus cue plus time. It's a technical script.
It is the ultimate truth document. Every single minute must have a corresponding who the person accountable for making that action happen.
And the cue is the trigger.
The cue is the critical trigger. For instance, a stage manager doesn't just call lights up at 8:00 p.m. The cue is often a verbal trigger over the radio or a physical sightline like, when the host walks to center stage, go to Q4B.
So if the host is running 2 minutes late,
The stage lighting team knows not to fire the cue until that designated action happens. It ensures flow continuity.
and to make that ROS happen, you need backstage mastery, the site map, the backstage plan, and the rehearsal schedule. What's the biggest operational enemy backstage, especially in high-pressure environments like fashion or televised sports?
The biggest enemy is unauthorized access and uncontrolled movement, what we often call unnecessary noise.
Right.
Backstage zones, green rooms, warm-up areas, tech zones, they're sensitive ecosystems. The backstage plan defines not just the layout, but the precise flow of people and materials. The challenge is ensuring that the talent manager and the catering manager aren't trying to access the same loading dock at the same time.
Which leads to congestion and chaos.
Exactly. This is managed through an aggressive credentialing system that strictly dictates who can access which security zone, usually color-coded or numbered zones, to prevent mission-critical areas from becoming public walkways.
Okay, now that the program is designed, we hire the people who will actually execute it. Phase 5. Vendor sourcing and procurement. Bid, compare, contract. This requires a rigorous, standardized approach.
The blueprint lays out a crucial 7-step vendor workflow, starting with identifying the precise scope of work and culminating in confirmation calls 7 days out and then again 48 hours out.
And the centerpiece is the apples-to-apples comparison.
Absolutely.
Let's push on that comparison. In a lean startup environment, the cheapest bid often wins because of budget pressures. Why must a professional firm prioritize the fine print over the lowest dollar value?
Because the lowest dollar value is often a Trojan horse. You have to compare labor rates, equipment age, and required insurance.
Give me an example.
For example, a low-bid AV company might quote a lower base price, but use older equipment that requires 2 extra technicians, so more labor cost for you, and doesn't meet the venue's power requirements, forcing you to rent an expensive generator last minute. Or maybe they don't provide the mandatory $5 million general liability insurance, which transfers massive risk back to your firm. The comparison sheet forces you to calculate the total life cycle cost and liability of the vendor relationship, not just the quoted price.
That brings us to a crucial operational principle in this phase, the ownership rule. Always assign one owner per vendor. For a bootstrapped event manager who has to own catering, security, and staging, how do they prevent a catastrophic dropped ball?
The rule is paramount, regardless of team size. If you are the sole project manager, you assign one day, say Tuesday, to be your vendor procurement focus day, where you cycle through those critical relationships.
It's about dedicated time.
It is. The failure occurs when responsibility is shared or assumed. If the lighting rig is late, you don't ask which production staff member was supposed to confirm the truck time. You ask the assigned owner, why did you not confirm the truck time by the 48-hour deadline? Accountability has to be singular.
Even if you're a team of one.
Even in a small team, you assign yourself as the singular owner for each vendor, rather than allowing 3 different people to talk to the same vendor about different issues.
And we're dealing with a massive common vendor list: security, medical, staging, power, ticketing, catering, cleaning. It really underscores that an event is basically a temporary corporation built entirely by outside contracts.
And every single one of those vendors needs a specific load-in time, a dedicated access point, and clear communication about your compliance requirements. A power vendor, for instance, needs to know the exact technical writer for the staging vendor to ensure they provide enough distro and amperage, which means the owner of the power vendor has to communicate directly with the owner of the staging vendor.
It's a web of dependencies.
It's a web of dependencies, all tied back to a single person responsible for the outcome.
Finally, in this execution block, we have Phase 6, marketing, ticketing, PR partnerships. This is where we attract the audience and fulfill all those financial promises.
The focus here is a lean, aggressive sales funnel that starts with the core message. What is the compelling reason to attend? That message then drives a simple, conversion-focused landing page.
Right. If your landing page requires 10 clicks to buy a ticket, you've already lost half your audience.
You've lost them. And you have to master ticketing nuance. It's more than just pricing. It's about tiers, promo codes, VIP logistics, and the very controversial comps policy.
Yes, the comps policy. Complimentary tickets. This can be a hidden budget drain if it's not strictly managed.
Oh, a massive drain. Firms must have a formal, documented policy stating who gets a free ticket media, sponsors, specific talent entourage, and more importantly, why. Every comp has to be authorized at a high level.
Because if you give away 20% of your tickets,
You've effectively reduced your profit base by 20%. And managing ticketing tiers and VIP access, that has to directly reflect the experience journey you defined back in Phase 4.
so the perks have to be real.
VIP access must include genuinely exclusive perks, a dedicated entrance, premium seating, exclusive concessions that justify the higher price point. If the VIP line is as long as the general admission line, you failed that promise.
And on the sponsorship front, it's all about flawless integration. Ensuring sponsor placement, content deliverables, and shoutouts are managed means treating that sponsor agreement as a scriptable element right inside the ROS.
Sponsorship is a contractual obligation. You need a dedicated tracker, often managed by a sponsorship director, that maps every single deliverable logo placement, social media mentions, on-site activations to a specific date and time, and confirms who is responsible for providing the proof of execution.
Which leads to a critical best practice, the content capture plan. I understand why this is important, but why does it have to be finalized before the event starts? Can't you just send a photographer out and let them capture what looks cool?
You absolutely cannot. The plan has to be a highly technical document integrated directly with the ROS.
How so?
If sponsor A paid for a high-resolution image of their logo on the digital screen at 7:45 p.m., you must have a photographer assigned to that specific location with the correct lens at that exact minute to ensure you get that proof of performance shot.
So if you rely on randomness, you're going to miss key deliverables.
You will miss the critical deliverables needed for your post-event sponsor recap. Planning the capture beforehand ensures you secure your sales assets for the following year. It's about treating content capture as a mandated production element, not just an afterthought. We shift now to the human architecture that makes this whole system run. We're in Phase 7, staffing and operations. Your event runs through people. An event is only as good as the command structure that's holding it together.
Let's break down that command structure. If an emergency happens, who is the final authority and who actually executes the response?
Okay, so the top role is the executive producer or the event director. They hold the financial and the final creative authority. They're the one who can make the call to delay the show or trigger a massive contingency spend.
And who reports to them?
Reporting to them are the 3 operational pillars. Number 1, the production manager. They own everything: technical stage, lighting, audio, power, rigging, and managing all those specific vendors.
Got it. Pillar 2.
Number 2 is the operations manager. They own the guest experience, site logistics, check-in flow, catering, security deployment, and cleaning.
And the 3rd.
Number 3 is the safety officer. They own compliance, medical, incident reporting, and the liaison with any outside authorities.
So having clear boundaries between these 3 prevents operational conflicts on show day.
It's essential. If the sound goes out, that's the PM's problem. If the crowd line is too long, that's the ops manager's problem. If there's a medical emergency, that's the safety officer's priority.
We also need to detail the division of labor between front of house, FOH, and back of house, BOH. FOH staff, like your check-in and ushers, they're the face of the event.
Right. And your BOH staff, like talent wranglers and technical leads, are the hidden engines.
What's the key difference in skill set?
FOH staff must be excellent communicators and problem solvers. They manage the attendees' direct experience and are crucial for that winning the gate objective we'll talk about in Phase 9. BOH staff manage the execution logistics. Talent wranglers ensure high-profile participants are kept on schedule and prepped. Technical leads manage the specific production cues.
The blueprint places a huge emphasis on one of the most critical BOH roles, the runner. Why is there a best practice insight to overstaff runners?
Because runners are your tactical problem solvers and your rapid communication agents. Radios are great, but they can be jammed, they can be misheard, or tied up with critical command-level communication.
So the runner is the physical solution.
When the operations manager needs a security supervisor moved instantly from Zone A to Zone C, or when a crucial piece of paperwork needs a signature from the event director who's 500 yards away in the command center, the runner is the answer.
And if your runners are scarce?
If your runners are scarce or fatigued, small immediate problems balloon into command-level distractions, and that slows down the entire show. Overstaffing runners is buying speed and immediate tactical relief for your command team.
Let's address the staffing size models and the challenge of scaling. For a listener who's managing a medium-sized event, say 800 to 5,000 attendees, the required staff headcount is 30 to 120 people. That is a massive operational commitment.
It is, and the scale is dictated by complexity and liability. A simple, seated corporate gathering requires way fewer staff than an 800-person standing room-only concert with alcohol service and heavy production.
So what's the rule of thumb for figuring this out?
Start with the non-negotiables. You have to secure the legal minimums for security and medical staff based on your permit requirements. Then you add your technical leads, your PM, your A1 for audio, L1 for lighting, and so on.
And the rest?
The bulk of the remaining staff fills in the operational gaps: check-in, ushers, cleaning, and of course runners. The blueprint insists that you budget for the higher end of that range, recognizing you can always send a few staff members home early, but you can't conjure them up instantly when a crisis hits.
So understaffing is false economy.
It saves money in the budget column, but it costs you exponentially in liability and reputation.
Phase 8 is where we translate all this human effort into the clockwork of the production. Production schedule, the timeline that prevents chaos, event planning is a countdown, and missing a major milestone means guaranteed cost overruns.
The schedule is a hierarchical document. The long view, so 8 to 12 weeks out, is focused entirely on securing the macro commitments that affect everything else.
The big 3.
The big 3. You lock the venue, the date, and the budget baseline. And crucially, this is when permits are applied for. This requires weeks of preparation and submission, like we discussed. And your top technical vendors, AVs, staging, security, they have to be signed now, as their availability is the next greatest constraint after the venue.
What happens at the mid-game milestones, around 6 to 8 weeks and then 4 weeks out?
Okay, 6 to 8 weeks is the creative and sales launch. The detailed draft ROS and sitemap are completed and distributed to internal teams. And more importantly, ticketing goes live, which requires a major marketing push.
And the 4-week mark?
The 4-week mark is operational crystallization. The full staffing plan is finalized, and hiring starts. The detailed safety plan is drafted, and the first major site walkthrough with key operations managers takes place.
And the blueprint has a warning here.
It does. Any fundamental changes to the design or production scope after 4 weeks should be considered a failure of phase 1 or 2, and the cost will be exponential.
Then comes the high-stakes moment. The final sprint, 2 weeks and 72 hours. What separates a calm finish from a panic attack in those final 72 hours?
The 72-hour mark is for confirmation and contingency triggering. It is not for problem solving.
Got it.
Your final ROS version final must be issued. You perform confirmation calls with every single vendor confirming load-in times, required credentials, necessary equipment. Did the generator company confirm the fuel truck delivery time? Did catering confirm the final headcount?
And weather.
Most critically, this is the final weather check, where you have to decide if contingency plans need to be actively initiated, renting backup lighting, securing additional tents, shifting outdoor activations inside. You have to act preemptively, not reactively to the forecast.
And finally, show day and post.
Yeah.
The schedule has to budget for the loadout process, recognizing that the crew is going to be exhausted.
Fatigue kills efficiency and causes accidents. The schedule must allocate sufficient, realistic time for a controlled loadout. This includes security protocols during the teardown, ensuring high-value equipment is secured first, and that critical damage walkthrough with the venue manager is scheduled to happen immediately after the teardown is complete.
But before the entire crew departs.
Exactly. It ensures accountability for any potential damage.
We've arrived at show day control with Phase 9. Show day command system, how pros avoid disasters. When the event is live, real-time chaos is, it's guaranteed. How do professional firms manage that torrent of simultaneous issues without just collapsing?
They separate the data streams and they create distinct command lanes. This is the 3-board control method, and it's designed for layered management.
Okay, what are the 3 boards?
Board number 1, the run-of-show board. This is managed by the production manager and the stage manager. It is purely temporal. It's tracking what's happening on stage right now, what's coming up next, and the precise timing of all production cues.
Okay, board 2.
Number 2 is the ops board. This is managed by the operations manager. This tracks logistical friction, long entry lines, restroom issues, concession shortages, unexpected power fluctuations, staff no-shows, minor security issues.
The day-to-day stuff.
Exactly. And board number 3 is the incident board. This is managed by the safety officer and the event director. This is reserved for high-risk, show-stopping events, medical emergencies, severe security threats like active conflicts or arrests, fire alarms, or weather triggers that require immediate evacuation.
So if the AV wall flickers and goes dark for 5 seconds, that's an ops board issue. But if a staff member falls and requires an immediate paramedic, that immediately elevates to the incident board, forcing the safety officer to take command.
That's the key distinction. Separating them prevents the event director from getting distracted by a 3-minute wait at the bar, which is an ops issue, when they need to be focused on triggering the emergency action plan for a rapidly approaching storm, an incident issue.
Communication gets streamlined.
The ops manager only reports critical ops issues to the director, and the PM only reports critical timing delays. The director focuses primarily on the incident board.
Speaking of tools, let's revisit the essential kit. Radios and spare batteries, call sheets, scanners, and the dedicated problem solver kit. I imagine the problem solver kit is the operational equivalent of a duct tape lifeline.
It is the tactical, low-cost solution that prevents a show delay. We're talking gaff tape, an event producer's best friend zip ties, multi-tools, extension cords, flashlights, Sharpies, and disposable rain gear.
The simple stuff.
The presence of this kit means a minor operational annoyance. A sign blew over, a cable is exposed, a temporary fence needs a quick repair. It can be solved by a runner in 60 seconds, rather than escalating to a major maintenance delay.
And you mentioned the credentialing system as a tool.
Functionally, the credentialing system is also a must-have tool. It ensures that the command team always knows who is where, protecting those restricted areas.
And now for the blueprint's most critical best practice for show day command. Put your absolute best manager at the front gate or check-in. The source is emphatic here. That is where events win or lose. Why is this entry point so defining for the entire event?
Because it is the attendee's very first physical interaction with your brand, and the perception established there is indelible.
First impressions.
If the line is long, chaotic, and poorly managed, the attendee is already frustrated and critical before the main act even starts. A slow gate creates 2 major problems. a reputational disaster, and a safety hazard from crowd concentration.
So who do you put there?
You put your best manager, a high-level ops person there, to ensure check-in technology works flawlessly, to quickly resolve ticket disputes, manage the flow of security screening, and rapidly deploy staff to deal with surge capacity. Winning the gate ensures a smooth start and immediately establishes a professional tone.
We cross the finish line into Phase 10, closeout and repeatability, where firms get rich. This is the non-glamorous part that really dictates future profitability and scalability.
Closeout is not just about cleaning up, it's about securing your assets and your future business. The closeout checklist focuses heavily on liability and financial closure.
So what are some of those vital tasks?
Well, the non-glamorous but vital tasks include vendor sign-offs, getting confirmation from vendors on their hours and services rendered to prevent billing disputes later, the damage walkthrough with the venue manager, ensuring you document the site condition immediately to avoid unexpected charges, and expense reconciliation, making sure every receipt is logged against that 3-column budget.
And the ticketing comps audit. This seems essential for accurate data reporting.
Absolutely. You have to reconcile the number of tickets sold with the number of tickets scanned, and every single complimentary or comped ticket must be accounted for against the authorization log.
Why is that so important?
This provides clean, verifiable attendance numbers, which are crucial metrics for your sponsors and partners, and it's essential for internal fraud prevention.
The ultimate financial deliverable here is the sponsor recap. This is where closeout equals profit, because a great recap secures rebooking and renewals.
The sponsor proof of performance package is the sales document for the next event. It must include verifiable professional assets, high-quality photos and videos of their placement and activation, which you captured with your Phase 6 plan,
Right.
concrete attendance and demographic numbers from the ticketing audit, and engagement stats like social media impressions. You have to quantify the return on investment, the ROI they received. The goal is to make their decision to rebook for next year an easy one, based on documented success.
And we have to adhere to a tight deadline on this, the 72-hour rule. Send sponsor recaps within 72 hours while the event is still fresh in their minds.
The emotional currency of the event dissipates so fast. If you wait 30 days, the sponsor has already moved on to their next marketing priority. By delivering a polished professional recap within 72 hours, you capitalize on that positive association and excitement. It makes a subsequent follow-up call about renewing the contract significantly easier and more productive.
And the final step of Phase 10.
The final step is the team debrief, and then immediately updating your Phase 0 templates with the lessons learned. This ensures the next event starts 10% more efficient than the last.
To put this whole blueprint into an organizational context, we should probably look at how a firm scales their human resources. The firm staffing blueprints show how the roles we discussed are formalized as the company matures.
Right. We contrast 3 models. The lean startup, 1 to 5 people, is high risk, high reward. The founder, or EP, is handling sales, vision, and often operations, supported by 1 dedicated project manager handling contracts and timelines. They're relying entirely on per-event freelancers for specialized production roles.
And as they mature into the growth team, maybe 6 to 15 people, we see true specialization emerge.
Yes. The workload is distributed to reduce burnout and increase expertise. You introduce a dedicated sponsorship director focused purely on packaging and securing revenue, a creative director to standardize the visual brand, and a talent relations manager to ensure performers and athletes are handled professionally. The system starts becoming robust enough to handle simultaneous projects.
And the final stage, the enterprise team of 15-plus people, this is the full departmental structure we see in big firms.
At this level, the 10-phase blueprint is managed by dedicated full-time departments. The operations manager from the growth phase becomes the director of operations with managers beneath them. This structure minimizes reliance on external freelancers for core functions, ensuring maximum control and adherence to the firm's specific processes.
Which minimizes risk and maximizes efficiency.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's synthesize the ultimate mindset shifts. The elite best practices that separate the professionals who rely on systems from the amateurs who are just relying on luck.
Okay, first, 1 owner per outcome. This applies everywhere, not just with vendors. Who owns the security check at the VIP entrance? Who owns the transition music volume? You have to eliminate all ambiguity. Second, contingency always in your budget, in your schedule, and for the weather. If you don't have a plan B, you are just assuming plan A will survive contact with reality, which, it won't.
And this one's fascinating and incredibly specific. Rehearse the transitions. The blueprint warns that events fail in the transitions, not during the main acts. Why is that specific handover point the moment of greatest vulnerability?
Because a transition is the moment when the maximum number of departments and crew members, often 24 people, must coordinate their activities in the shortest amount of time.
Wow.
You have stagehands, the cleanup crew, the lighting board operator, the audio engineer, the video tech, and the incoming talent,
Oh.
all required to hit their marks in a 60-second window.
And if one is off?
If the outgoing crew takes 10 seconds too long to clear equipment, the incoming crew is delayed, the audience notices the operational lull, and the entire ROS falls behind. Professional firms rehearse the transition, the loadout, and load in between acts with the same rigor they practice the main act, because maintaining tempo and flow is essential to the perceived professionalism of the show.
And finally, a simple yet often ignored rule. Crew care matters fed, hydrated, rested. I know so many firms that treat crew care as an optional expense.
It is a non-negotiable investment in execution, quality, and safety. Crew members working 16-hour days who are hungry, dehydrated, or exhausted are prone to mistakes, to accidents, and to short tempers that undermine the entire operation.
So it's a direct investment in your event's success.
Providing high-quality, readily available food and ensuring structured rest breaks is a direct mechanism for ensuring your team remains alert, compliant with safety protocols, and capable of solving complex problems efficiently throughout the inevitable stress of show day.
The ultimate summary of this entire operating system is the repeatable event packet. For you, the listener, these are the 12 core documents that must exist for every single event project, ready to be copied and customized.
These documents are the culmination of the system. The master event brief, the 3-scenario budget, the master timeline, the detailed run of show, the finalized safety plan, the vendor comparison sheet, and the sponsor deliverables tracker. If you can produce a complete, detailed, and verified packet for every project, you have successfully moved from relying on individual talent to running a scalable, managed production studio.
And that is the core takeaway. Adopting this rigorous operating system shifts your focus entirely. You stop chasing emergencies and you start optimizing your processes for efficiency. The system becomes the robust safety net that grants you the creative freedom to focus on the spectacular experience, because you know the operational and financial constraints are handled.
By clearly defining your event thesis back in Phase 1 and rigorously adhering to the structure of the 10 subsequent phases, you gain a massive competitive advantage. You are not just a planner hoping for the best. You are a reliable, scalable machine.
And that leads us to a final provocative thought for you to consider as you digest this blueprint. We've emphasized two fundamentally critical assets for scaling an event firm: the detailed risk and safety plan from Phase 3 and the comprehensive staffing plan from Phase 7. One protects the firm from external disaster and liability. The other protects the firm from internal collapse and burnout. So the question is, which single document, the risk and safety plan or the staffing plan, is the most neglected yet most critical asset when you're scaling an event firm from small to medium size? It's a deep question of priority.
Something to ponder as you look at your next project. Thank you for diving into the Event Planning Operating System Blueprint presented by the services of KING-KAMBUF PS.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.